to your research and the women community across. Reaching that village, the enrollment and the dropouts in the girls will be high compared to the boys. So, that is when we try to understand and reflect on, right, why you need to be sensitive and empathetic at the same time while you do your research. The feminist standpoint is also known as women's experience of epistemology. The position that the traditional science in research is androcentric. Androcentric means from the male perspective, okay? And therefore, is a bad science, right. So, this is predicted on the belief that traditional sciences only produce masculine forms of knowledge. What are they doing? They are excluding women's perspectives and women's experiences, their life experiences. So, that is totally out when you do your research. So, when you talk about from the feminist epistemology, that feminist epistemology takes issues with the masculinized definition of women's experiences, and it also argues and holds very little relevance of women in their research or no relevance of women in their research. So, what does the feminist standpoint talks about here? It talks about, or the assumption is that knowledge should, or knowledge emanates from social position and foregrounds the voices of women and their experiences of oppression to generate knowledge. So, we need research which are talking about women's experiences, talking about or generating knowledge from them, through them, right, and would, if we are not doing this, generating knowledge from their life experiences, that means we are remaining hidden in the society. People do not understand them. It is not spoken about. You understand? So, if you are not speaking about it, then how will the society process it? How will the knowledge get generated? If the knowledge has to be generated, then there has to be an empirical data that has to be collected, correct? When the empirical data is collected, which means you know there is a truth involved in it after talking to the women community in your research. You take about, we have female genital mutilation in India, right? I hope you have heard about this. female genital mutilation, FGM. Now, this was a hidden secret in India. You understand? People of that community knew, people of Muslim community knew, but by and large Indians were not aware that female genital mutilation happens in India. If at all you have heard, you would have heard it is in Africa, you would have heard it is in few Asian countries, you would have heard it is there in few Latin American countries, right. This, the Bohra community, you understand, they are the one who are involved in this. Now, there are two sects in the Muslim community, one is the Shias and the other are the Sunnis. So, the Bohras belong to the Shia community. The Bohra community people also came from the Middle East countries, and they have been staying in our country since ages. No research is done. The government does not have any data even today. You understand? The government has no data. They have not collected. Maneka Gandhi said, we don't have any data to talk about it when the question was asked to her. Right? But the whole world knows that this is happening in India. Recently, one of the Latin American countries spoke about it, the concern for the Bohra community in the United Nations. Till now, among the FGM banned countries of the world, India is not even there on the United Nations list. You get the point? Now, why am I giving this example is, the women of the Bohra community suffer a lot. When this female genital is cut from their body at the age of 6 or 7 years, when the girl is 6 or 7 years old. The girls from that community, women from that community, they formed an NGO, okay? And they came out with a massive data which spoke about every Bohra community woman in India has faced this genital cut in their life, right? Good enough. The Bohra girls are highly educated compared to the Sunnis in India. They are doctors, they are lawyers, placed in good professional executive postings, and they are there throughout the world, the Bohra communities. But they do practice this. Now they have had enough. So, how do they come out of it? One, you need to have a political will. You understand? You need to make a law for it. So, the women are safe, they are out of it, but law does not explain everything again or can stop everything. The attitude of the people also need to change. Now, if you look at these, the government's attitude and the NGOs from the Bohra community girls who have this data coming out on talking about their sexuality, talking about their bodily rights, right, which according to the Indian law, the person can be booked under the POSCO Act. It's clearly defined. But then the government does not acknowledge, the law does not talk about it, right, but they are the silent sufferers. You do a research, then you will know their issues in that given religious social structure, how is it difficult for them to come out of it. They say it is religious, but the Quran does not talk about it. You understand? When the Quran does not talk about it, then who are these people who are interpreting the Quran? And you know, in the male dominated patriarchal society, who dominates these various institutions in the society, right. So, if there is one priest who can say in India, come on, let all the girls and the women go to the temple. Have you seen that? No. If the head priest of the Sabrimala says, let them go, let them pray in the temple. Pardon? Majority of the religions across the cultures, different cultures, they have their own social structure, which is by and large patriarchal, male dominated hierarchy exists there. So, when you do a research, you talk to these women, you will know what are their experiences of being a human in this male dominated society. Now, if I ask you in this question, in this classroom, your life versus the boy's life, right, is it the same? You also acknowledge it? You better acknowledge it. You say it is no. So, it's as simple as that. Now, how do you get to the point? Getting to the point, the feminist standpoint, epistemology works on the premises talking about being objective and talking about being value free. So, you need to shed experiences of the oppressed. So, feminist researchers use, as I said, both qualitative and quantitative approach to see the world through the eyes of their research participants, and then you try to understand how their position shape their experiences within the social world that you live. The researcher is expected now to engage in a strong reflexivity. You need to reflect on it. Why is your world like this, and why is their world in a different manner, right? And acknowledge the same in their in the researcher's writing, how their own attributes and their location, social location may impact when you interpret your data. This is important. How you are going to talk about your data, reflect on it and interpret your data. What was your what's mensuration is a taboo. ಅಂದರೆ ನಾವು ಮೆನ್ಸುರೇಷನ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಮಾತಾಡೋದೂ ಇಲ್ಲ ಸೊಸೈಟಿಯಲ್ಲಿ. ಅದು ಮಾತಾಡಿದರೆ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಲೈಕ್ ಒನ್ ಬಿಗ್ ಏನೋ ಒಂಥರ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಅ ಸಿನ್ ಇದ್ದಂಗೆ, ರೈಟ್? Now there is a history to this also. Till today, right? Till today, have you got solution to your menstruating pain? No. No. Period pain ಬಂದಾಗ have you got a solution? No. ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಏನು ಹೇಳಿದ್ದಾರೆ? What did your mother tell? What did your friend tell? Yeah. Correct. Correct.
That may not be the true case all the time. It may be tactful sometimes.
It may be.
Sometimes it may be true.
What is that sometimes? What is true?
So whenever they tell that she hangs because of menstruation pain.
Because?
Menstruation pain is something. It is not true in all the cases.
But there is a pain.
Nonetheless,
There is a pain. Now let us not talk about the magnitude of the pain, but the pain is horrible. Not in all cases, but most of them face this. Yeah, can we listen to her please?
I have personally seen that when we are physically and emotionally under stress, the repercussions of the pain is way higher than I would be if I am relaxed and not under stress or physical strain. So if we are really, I think that a lot of people don't really bother, we take it as a curse. But I met somebody from Karnataka and you won't believe she was a village lady, not knowing English. She told me one day that why don't you people track and rest a little before that? You will see that it have a different impact on you. I was surprised. I don't see educated, so-called degree holding women talking like this. I see village normal, so-called not formally educated women sometimes talking more sense than I see otherwise. I think feminism, if I may get this opportunity to say, it shouldn't just come from educated women. Sometimes I feel the uneducated, the village going, the so-called underprivileged teach you a lot more than others.
Agreed. They are talking from their life experiences. You understand? She is talking from, where do you come from?
I am from Uttarakhand.
Uttarakhand. Okay. Now, what I am trying to say is, most of the women do have pain. But in this mad rush of competitive world, where is the time to rest? Right? Where is the time to rest? If you were in this in your FDP program and if you were suffering for 3-4 days, would they allow you 4 days off? No? They wouldn't have. They wouldn't have allowed you. You understand? Which means we are yet and still making laws that yes, there are some private MNCs, I think the Kerala government has done it, 3 days off every month if the woman. In Kerala. Let's hope it becomes a bill, it gets implemented soon. No, Kerala they are doing, throughout India is still a bill, it is not implemented. Okay, good enough, but I hope the enlightened make a decision soon out of it. Now, why I am talking about this period pain again is, for all of us to understand is, if you talk about pain, even to a gynecologist from Apollo Hospital in Bangalore will tell, and that was told to my daughter, look, we also suffered, ma. We also. And then she had the guts to tell my daughter that your body is weak, you can't stand the pain. Can you believe doctors today, I am talking about not even a year back, from the best hospitals and the gynacs talking this language to the patients. If it was a male problem in the society, there would have been a research R&D gone in it. Finances throughout the world would have gone in it. But nobody has bothered to talk about the pain and resolve these issues. That makes the difference again in the society. Are you married? Yes. You have sisters? You, I'm sure from your mother to your sister to your wife, you haven't asked these questions to them? You haven't asked the questions to them. Good, I am at least thankfully you are raising questions. Does this tablet work or no? We need to do a research on it. The medical field should do a research on it to stop this issue. We had Olympics games last year going on. The woman girl gymnast from the US, the topper couldn't play her final round because of her period pain, and she lost the medal for that. Is it fair? Now, who are doing this business in the world? But it is truth. I am not saying it for the sake of telling. There is a data on this. The doctors now are talking about endometriosis issue for the woman and her pain. Medical. No, I don't believe in this theory. By getting? What can get postponed? Postponement is not a solution. It's your body, my dear. It's your body. And I don't think the men can talk about it with not one without knowledge or without getting convinced about what they are talking about. You can't understand. You can empathize. Shh. Yeah. That is where they are fighting for their rights now.
Yes, ma'am. And one thing, one of my friend Ganesh told all of us that a painkiller can be a temporary solution. But there is a tablet called Famiflam, the 1 rupee a tablet. If you keep on taking frequently for more than 20 or 30, it directly causes the kidney. Most of the kidney failure cases are from the painkiller tablets.
No painkiller is safe for that matter. It's not just for your period pain, but in general health, painkiller is not the solution. Now, let's not go deep into the medical section, painkiller or no painkiller, but the point is the pain that the woman undergoes and why is it not been spoken. If you listen to the doctors even today, as I said, that's very disheartening and pathetic situation. Everybody talks the same. I have faced, you also go through it, it's okay, it will happen, go on and on it. You said medical research. How many women scientists have won the Nobel Prize? There are hardly any, few in number. Going to the level of doing research and reaching that position is still not a luxury to many of them. You understand? So, there are hurdles everywhere. So, the PepsiCo head, Indira, she said it very beautifully that your biological clock, right, is not in tune with your career clock. Your biological clock from 25 to 30, 35, you lose in becoming a mother and the chances of you getting into higher positions. Those 10, 15 years, the men would have reached the top. They are totally opposite and in conflict. This is how it is. So, let us be very understanding in understanding the issues to ensure that there is no harm for anybody. And when you talk about the feminist research, in these issues, you talk about your menstruation, you talk about communities again. What are you aiming at? As a researcher, you are aiming at, or you are valuing the woman's experiences, her needs and the perception of the social world. How are they interpreting it? How is the male dominated society interpreting it? We are talking about bringing transformation, right? We are talking about emancipating women and other marginalized groups from the patriarchal domination in your research. We are talking about producing knowledge. How do you produce knowledge? You need to talk about ethics and the political perspective in understanding those issues. So, I said, if there is a political will, you can make changes and bring in the implementation to ensure that there is equality in the society. Most of the feminists agree on 5 basic principles. One is working to increase equality. Second is expanding the human choice. Third is eliminating gender stratification in any given subject. You end sexual violence. You are talking about promoting sexual freedom. Nobody should have a control over your body. It is your body. You have the right to decide how you want your body to be. Not my religion or my community tribe will try to impose and tell me what my body is and what sexuality to me is. So, we need to talk about freedom and choice here. And what makes the feminist method distinctive from the other social science methods? One, as I told you, it is talking or focusing only on the experiences of the woman, perspectives and interests of women. Now, here you are trying to challenge the traditional, you are trying to challenge the male centric approach and the methodologies involved in it, and highlighting at the same time the importance of gender in understanding the social phenomena. You want your GDP to be high. Half the population is still lagging behind. They are not in the workforce. How will your GDP improve then? How will there be productivity? How will there be development? If you include the 50%, that is going to be magical. Now, there are reasons why this 50% are still lagging behind, and all of us know about it, right? So, the approach in understanding this social phenomena is unique due to the emphasis on gender equality. That is why we say, why 33% reservation? Why not 50% reservation? Let it be equal. You 50, you 50.
In local government, in Gram Panchayat, in the Tala Panchayat, it's 50%. But not in Lok Sabha.
You have 50%? Local bodies I am not talking about.
Only one woman Supreme Court judge.
You look at the data and then you will understand the number of women in the Supreme Court, the 2% in the Parliament. You understand? So, you know that clearly it is divided. We have chief ministers from UP talking about why should the woman come to the assembly hall? घर में बैठ के खाना खाओ, बच्चों को पालो, घर बार देखो. That was how they spoke about in the parliament. हाँ. Woman criticizing woman, good. But do you know the woman's culture and her history behind that? The woman who is criticizing this, what environment she comes from? What environment she comes from? You can't blame her. But there are more men who are talking this. We have the Khap Panchayats who refuse and tell, who tell the girls not to wear jeans, not to wear certain type of clothes, no mobile, no TV, especially MTV, VTV, no. You understand? So, ultimately what we are talking about is the emphasis should be in your research is the gender equality. There has to be a power dynamics in it, and the subjective experiences of women should be involved in it again. Now, gender is the central category here in your research, is at the center. It means your research is designed and conducted with a focus on understanding how gender shapes the society that you live in, or the kind of social structure that is there, and the relationship between these different structures. For example, you take about gender wage gap, gender wage gap, ಗಂಡಸರಿಗೆ ಯಾಕೆ ಒಂಥರ ಸಂಬಳ, ಹೆಂಗಸರಿಗೆ ಯಾಕೆ ಒಂಥರ ಸಂಬಳ, right? I think this year's economics Nobel Prize, the lady who won recently, talks about the gender wage gap, and that made her win the Nobel Prize for economics. And she has spoken about the history of the American civilization till today, about women's work and their income, and what type and how, what has led to that gender gap in her society. And then you also see that impact, how that gender gap on a particular industry, or how it impacts the gender roles on women's mental health. Then we talk about emphasis on power relations. We are talking about power relations in shaping the social realities of the world today. You need to critically examine how the gender, how power is distributed, and how is it also exercised in the society, particularly in terms of gender. Now, you might as a researcher talk about patriarchal power structures. Patriarchal power structures. How does this patriarchal power structure influence women's access to education or women's access to health care? It is not the same, it is different. Her access to education, you look at the girls from 10th, from 7th, it comes down, 10th dropouts more, 12th more dropouts, degree more, higher education you have few percentage of women there. At every stage you see they are dropping out. Now, why are they dropping out? Because of the social structure. What kind of social structure? In this patriarchal dominated society, hierarchies are involved, institutions are also involved equally, which talk about patriarchy. You understand? Family as an institution, patriarchal, religious institutions, patriarchal, economy or economics, patriarchal in nature, politics, patriarchal in nature. You understand? So, it becomes all the more important for you to investigate how these patriarchal powers or the power structure influence her access to either education, health or any other issue. So, when the women's movement started, they started with the voting rights throughout the world. This, yeah. How? Huh. Yeah. How health wise? I will give you a simple example. If you look at the data that was published recently with the COVID vaccination in India, number of men are more compared to the women who have taken injections in this country. We are not serious about it. You are at home, you are cooking. Neglected. It is neglected. You don't think seriously. Pregnancy and delivery is a very common thing. Anybody can deliver. How many children they can deliver? It is normal. You don't anticipate that there are complications involved in it, and then you need to have a proper ambulance in the village. You need to have a proper scanning center in the village to look out for fetal disabilities, right? Where is the access? So, till by the time she figures out that something is happening in a wrong way, she would have been in her third trimester, and then it is difficult for her to go to a city, get a scan or get it aborted also for that matter. So, there is no access, you do not see equality in accessing the health care systems in India. Savings, bank accounts, right? How many of them are now, because of these government schemes, women are trying to have a passbook and an account in their name. Until recently it was not there. How many properties are there in the woman's name? No property, no security, no loan. Where is the access for her? You understand? So, that is why we need to be little understanding and sensitive to look at how these affect differently for both men and women. So, as I said, we need to have emancipatory goals, that research is not just about understanding the world, right, but also about changing the world simultaneously. Your research on menstruation and taboo and the menstruation cup, the taboo should be out of the people's mind, and that research should do some kind of a social change. It should bring in a social change in this world of reality. So, feminist researchers aim only to highlight and challenge the gender inequality to contribute for a social change, as I said, and you can take any example from sexual harassment in the workplace to the goal of informing policies to prevent such kind of harassment. So, what is this women's movement doing? They are fighting for the various issues and causes, so that their voices are heard, and then those voices are spoken about, discussed about, talked about, laws are made, implemented to ensure that there is equality in the society. So, we are challenging the traditional research methodologies to contribute to the social change. This is your understanding of involving your feminist methodology in your research. Do I end my session or how is it? I finish it. Okay. So, I would just like to end. All research methodologies are criticized in some way or the other, right? Despite criticism, I would say that the feminist method of social research is distinctive in many ways, reflecting the commitment, the cause and the goal that are involved in it, in understanding the or addressing the issues of gender, inequality and experiences of women. So, a feminist research has a double dimension. It includes both the construction of new knowledge and the production of social change. So, in this contrast of traditional research, we are here to focus on constructing a new knowledge in the society to bring in a social change. That is the aim of your, that is what is supposed to be the aim of your research from the feminist point of view. So, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to be a part, and I hope it made some sense to all of you in understanding from the woman's point of view. And I hope and I am hopeful that all the men here understand their wives, their daughters, their mothers and their sisters. You have to be a feminist father in understanding your daughter and your wife. That will change the society. Thank you so much.